My name is Claudia Talbot, and I will be performing Expeditioner Reality, Meriwether Lewis and the Downside to Fame and Fortune. Sir, after some $7,000 had been advanced on the bills drawn by Your Excellency, on account of your contract with the St. Louis Fur Company for conveying the Mandan chief to his village, and after this department had been advised that for this purpose the company was bound to raise, organize, and equip 140 volunteers to furnish whatever might be deemed necessary for the expedition, or to ensure success, was not expected that any further advances or further agency would be required on the part of the United States. $7,000 was considered as competent to effect the object. Your Excellency would therefore not be surprised that your bill of the 13th of May last, drawn in favor of MP Chardonnay, for $500 for the purchase of tobacco, powder, and intended as presents for the Indians, through which this expedition was to pass and to ensure its success, has not been honored. Of course, that's what you said. I spent the $7,500 doing my job. You said my job was Indian relations, and I did that. This is not the only blockage you've caused. I mean, not letting me get the funds I need, forcing me to deal with people who don't want to deal with me. When I took this job after the expedition, I expected it would be less stressful. Of course it's not. Less natural disasters, maybe, but that's it. I thought after coming back after the expedition I'd be, famous, but that's not the case. Everyone thinks the expedition, was beautiful land and plentiful food, an easy thing, but I can assure you it was so far from that. First of all, President Jefferson seemed to forget that when forming the expedition, the Corps of Discovery, that a group of armed men were considered a war party. The Teton Sioux were one example. They're one of the most feared and respected tribes that we encountered. They allowed us to have a conference with them. We gave them a silver medal of peace, a tricorn hat, a scarlet military cloak, and of course this little nifty certificate thing here, recognizing them as a tribe of the United States. But they were not satisfied. They said we're not allowed to leave until we give them tobacco. Clark and I determined that it might be best to appease them, so we did, and then we went on our way. This is only one encounter, by the way. We had more. We also had to deal with the natural world. Nobody on the expedition had been all the way out west, so we were going in blind since we didn't have a map. An example of something we faced that we weren't expecting to was the Great Falls of the Missouri. The Great Falls were about 5 separate falls, standing 87 feet tall, with 200 feet sheer cliffs on either side. Now, of course, our canoes and pirogues couldn't go up the water, so we had to take the canoes out and the pirogues out of the water, take them on this 14-mile trek around the falls to be able to drop them back in and continue upriver. On this trek, we dealt with driving rain, incapacitating exhaustion, blistering sun, swarms of mosquitoes, prickly pear cactus, and grizzly bears. Not to mention rattlesnakes. And of course, on top of all of that, we got hit by fist-sized pieces of hail. Our canoes and pirogues in the natural environment could not give us enough protection from the elements. And then, of course, after the weather and all the other things we had to deal with, we also had to deal with the creatures, such as the grizzly bears. Let's see, where are they? There it is. This is Monday, April 29th, 1805. Set out this morning at the usual hour. The wind was moderate. I walked on shore with one man. About 8 a.m., we fell in with 2 brown or yellow bears, both of which were wounded. One of them made his escape. The other, after my firing upon him, pursued me 70 or 80 yards, but fortunately had been so badly wounded that he was unable to pursue too closely as to prevent me from charging my gun. We again repeated our fur and killed him. He was male, not fully grown. We estimated his weight at 300 pounds, not having a means of ascertaining it precisely. This is only one encounter with grizzly bears. We of course had more. We also had bison we encountered. One ran through our camp during the night and nearly trampled many sleeping men. Luckily, Seaman, my dog was able to chase it out of the camp before it caused too much harm to anything. I also had to deal with snow. Yes, it snows here, but not like that. I mean, several feet of snow, 21 below zero temperatures. I mean, it's a miracle none of us died from that. If we'd crossed the Rockies in the winter, we'd have all been dead, but we made camp at Fort Mandan to wait till the spring to be able to cross the mountains. We also, we're quite lucky. Everyone thinks, oh, one man died. I mean, that's a miracle. And they're right. They don't realize how right they were. Almost every one of us had a brush with death. The only one who died was, of course, Sergeant Charles Floyd, who died 3 months into the expedition after a weird, mysterious illness that none of us knew what it was. Clark was nearly bitten by a rattlesnake, and a seaman was actually bitten by a beaver while hunting in the Missouri River. I nearly fell off a 90-foot cliff into the water, and Sergeant Windsor actually did fall off a cliff, luckily managed on catching a root, and with my assistance was able to climb back up to the bluff and to safety. Private Joseph Whitehouse and Sacagawea were both struck down with strange illnesses. I bled Whitehouse and gave Sacagawea water from a fresh spring, and in hopes of basically curing them, and it did work, to my surprise. I was also struck down by a weird intestinal illness, and with a concoction of chokeberries, I was able to heal myself. I was also the only one shot. That was from the expedition, and I wasn't shot by Indian. I was shot in the left thigh, about an inch below the hip joint, missing the bone. I was hunting with Private Cruzat at the time, and because of his bad eyesight, somebody shot me and mistaken for an elk as I was wearing brown leather. Under this impression, I called out, "Damn you, you have shot me!" The only man to be shot in the expedition is myself, Captain Meriwether Lewis, and I was shot by my own man. Okay, I'm not saying that the expedition was all bad. Honestly, it wasn't. Our experiences, charting the new territory, discovering new food, in the sense of like animals that we could eat, like the bison, or discovering new plants, and interacting and introducing yourselves to the tribes and getting familiar with them. That far outpasses all the problems. And I did sign up for the expedition, so I honestly shouldn't be complaining. But really what I'm getting at is, you put me on this job, or Jefferson did, as the governor of the Louisiana Territory. And yet, there's so much more stress involved with this that, oh my gosh, it's causing so many more problems. With you, the War Department, not giving me the funds to get things done, my secretary, Frederick Bates, doing stuff behind my back, and not getting anything done I ask him to get done. So I'm bankrupt now because you didn't give me the $7,500, let's be precise. So now I'm gonna have to write you a letter to get my funds back in hopes that I don't go bankrupt. Let's see, there's a piece of parchment. Sir, yours of the 15th July is now before me. The feeling it excites is truly painful. With respect to every public expenditure, I've always accompanied my draft by a letter of advice, stating explicitly the object of the expenditure. If the object be not a proper one, of course, I am responsible. But if on investigation it does appear to have been necessary for the promotion of the public interest, I shall hope for relief. Though, knowing you'll get this letter in a month. That's how long it takes to mail, as you know. You'll just look at it and ignore me once again. So, probably mid-October, as it is August now, I'll be on my way up to Washington to meet you in person and beg for relief. Because, at that point, there'll be nothing left that I'll be able to live for. Nothing. Of no funds. And maybe then, you'll listen to me.